Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into the seemingly dense, ancient logic of Nagarjuna and Atisha. But listen, we're not going to treat this like some dry, archaic philosophy class. Instead, we're going to crack it open and reveal it for what it truly is, a highly practical, literal engine for ultimate mental clarity. If you've ever felt completely stuck in your understanding of the middle way, well, we're going to give you the exact framework you need to break through. Okay, let's jump right in by confronting a pretty stark warning from the 11th century master, Atisha. He doesn't mince words here. He explicitly states that relying on just one side of your spiritual practice is a trap. He's telling us that transcendent wisdom, or prajna, and skillful means simply cannot exist in isolation. To really wrap your head around this, picture a traveler trying to hike a treacherous mountain pass with only one leg, or a bird trying to fly with a single wing. It's just not going to work, right? The sources point out that sure, you might actually gain some impressive clairvoyance or deep laser-like focus through skillful means like pure meditation alone. But without that second wing of prajna, the specific transcendent wisdom of the middle way, you are still entirely bound by deep root-level obscurations. Now, because this ancient Buddhist logic can get intensely abstract, here is our roadmap to navigate it. First, the trap of one-sidedness. Second, wisdom as non-arising. Third, Nagarjuna's fourfold logic. Fourth, the illusion of essence. And finally, the clear, vast mind. All right, part 1, the trap of one-sidedness. We're looking at verses 41 through 43 of Atisha's lamp for the path to really pin down our core problem. The ancient texts don't pull any punches here. Early masters adamantly warned their students about the illusion of incomplete paths. They taught that a yogi's pure meditation, while absolutely incredibly powerful, is fundamentally inadequate on its own to sever the root of afflictive and cognitive obscurations. The trap, essentially, is thinking that just sitting quietly is the whole shebang. It's not. Moving on to part 2, wisdom as non-arising. To break out of these deep-seated bonds, Atisha introduces the necessary tool in verse 47, which is transcendent prajna. So what is it? Prajna isn't just about reading more books or accumulating facts. According to the sources, prajna is the profound knowing of inherent emptiness. It's this very specific, ground-shaking realization that the aggregates, meaning the components that make up the self, and literally all elements of existence, do not truly arise at all. To grasp this idea of non-arising, think of our standard, everyday view of reality like a game of pool. One billiard ball smacks into another. A distinct cause creates a distinct effect. Makes sense, right? But prajna is a fundamental shift in perception, where, upon closer, microscopic inspection, those solid billiard balls of cause and effect simply dissolve into pure light. They never solidly arose in the first place. Section 3, Nagarjuna's fourfold logic. Now, how do we actually arrive at that mind-bending realization? We don't just take it on blind faith. We use this logic from Nagarjuna's root middle way as our diamond-cutting tool. Imagine you're standing at a four-way crossroads, and every single path of arising is completely blocked by an impenetrable wall of logic. Atisha cites these exact proofs from Nagarjuna's chapter 1. Things do not arise from themselves, nor from another, nor from both, nor without a cause. Let's actually test these walls one by one. Let's test that first wall, the idea that things arise from themselves. Think about it. If a thing already possesses its own independent essence, if it already exists, it makes absolutely zero logical sense for it to need to birth itself again. If it's already there, the act of arising is entirely redundant. Okay, what about this second wall? Arising from another. This is how we normally view the world, right? Seed makes a sprout. But if a cause and an effect were fundamentally independently disconnected others with absolutely no underlying link, then the rules of the universe completely break down. Total darkness could just as easily birth a bright light. A piece of coal could give birth to a lotus flower. If they are truly other, anything could arise from anything. These ancient verses systematically dismantle our familiar materialist mindset. Because if things cannot logically arise from themselves, and they cannot logically arise from a completely independent other, then they certainly cannot arise from a combination of both self and other. That third path, completely blocked by the combined logical failures of the first two. And finally, we check the fourth path, arising without any cause. The text uses beautiful metaphor of a sky flower, something completely non-existent. Well, a non-existent thing cannot have a cause. Therefore, all elements of existence fail all four of these logical tests. The conclusion? They are ascertained to have no true independent nature. They do not truly arise. That brings us to part 4, the illusion of essence. Let's look at verse 50 of Atisha's text and see how this builds into the second major logical analysis. Because beyond just cause and effect, we really need to talk about essence. When analyzing whether any Dharma, any phenomenon in the universe, is a solitary, singular entity or a multiple collection of parts, what we are really doing is hunting for a fixed, unchanging essence. Think of it like looking at a seemingly perfect, solitary jewel. As you zoom in with Nagarjuna's fast-paced logical analysis, desperately searching for that one core essence, the jewel shatters into infinite microscopic pieces. You realize the one is just made of many, and the many are just made of more parts. Neither the one nor the many possesses a solid, independent core. A fixed essence is literally never observed. Which brings us to our final stop, part 5, the clear, vast mind. Having effectively demolished the illusion of essence and the illusion of causation, we reach the summit of our journey. Here is the absolute crucial takeaway. This whole thing isn't just some abstract intellectual exercise. The texts are incredibly clear. By continually meditating on this exact, spotless discourse of logic, the practitioner achieves total abandonment. They finally let go of all those cognitive and afflictive obscurations that pure meditation alone couldn't even touch. When a bodhisattva uses this logic to slice through the doubts that hinder the path, it leaves their mind as clear and vast as a cloudless sky. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to think about your own rigidly held beliefs. Consider how wielding Nagarjuna's fourfold logic, testing the walls of your own assumptions, could actually help you break through the illusions that keep you personally bound. Seriously, what would it take for you to experience that vast, clear sky of the mind for yourself? Thank you so much for exploring this remarkable logic with me today. See you next time.